Welcome everyone to this EU Clusters talk on Ukraine. How can EU clusters support business integration and recovery in Ukraine? My name is Chris Burns, and I'm actually connecting with you from the European Parliament here in Strasbourg during their monthly plenary. And so if you do hear that school bell go off for the call to vote, my apologies, I will cut my mic off when that happens. This EU Clusters Talk is a bi-weekly event by the European Clusters Collaboration Platform, the ECCP, on behalf of DG GROW at the European Commission. Today, the format is news from the Cluster Platform, perspectives from the European Commission, proposals by the Ukrainian Cluster Alliance, and then we'll have a panel discussion, and we want to pull you in, all of you watching, send in your questions and your comments there in the chat, and we'll follow by funding opportunities at the end there. A couple other tech tips. You can send in those questions at that button at the bottom that you see on the screen, or you can click the button to raise your hand. In that case, if we put you on, please do unmute yourself and turn your camera on if you want to be seen. Hashtag EU Clusters Talks, hashtag EU Clusters Talks, if you hear anything you would like to cast wider. And this is being recorded for playback later. Let's get started with the news from the European Cluster Collaboration Platform with Nina Hoppmann, team member of the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. Nina, please take it away.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Chris, for the welcome. We have some news there, also related, the first one to the topic of today, where we talk about Ukraine. We want to say the Ukraine Cluster Support Ukraine Forum is still active. Was created, the forum, to deliver humanitarian aid for Ukraine and to support Ukrainian refugees in member state countries. And in this forum, you can share information, register your offers of assistance, and look on what the needs are, because there is still a need for help. So if you are a potential donor of, for example, electric generators or school buses, please inform us in the European Commission about potential donations.
Quite apropos about electric generators after the latest strikes from the Russians knocking out electric power.
Exactly.
So that would be extremely helpful, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. The next item is the application is still open for the Cluster Booster Academy. So in case you're interested in training and an altogether 4-day event, 2 online, which will take place on the 1st and 2nd of December, and the 2-day in-person training sessions in Strasbourg, actually, on the 2nd and 3rd of March, you can still apply until the 31st of October via an online form that is published on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. And you can click in the chat in the link, and it will lead you to the information on the Booster Academy and who it is for and where you can apply to participate. And we also have more events in the store. You can save the date for the next Clusters Meet Regions. These are events designed for clusters and regional stakeholders to discuss the role of clusters in the regional economies and how they can support the green and digital transition and to improve resilience in the regions. The next ones are in Katowice, Poland on the 7th and 8th of November, in Zagreb, Croatia on the 29th and 30th of November, and Barcelona, Spain on the 14th to 16th of December.
You know, I might mention, Nina, about Katowice. I was there doing a feature story on startups and innovation in Katowice. And a lot of people, they think Katowice, well, you think coal mines and steelworks, much less that. They're really innovating. In fact, there is a former coal mine that's converted into an amazing museum. So a lot of innovation going on there, by the way.
So you're most welcome to come to Katowice. The registration links will be published shortly, so stay tuned and look out on the news for that on the ECCP. And last but not least, announce that up from the 25th of October, there will be a simpler registration process launched across some cluster profiles. We will start with cluster organizations, cluster organization members, and European cluster partnerships and initiatives. So the profiles will, of course, remain intact, but we will communicate to you on how to update them, and that there will be new information available to you and it will be simplified to get a new look and feel. So also stay tuned for that. And with that, back to you, Chris.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nina. Let's move on to perspectives from the European Commission with Jakub Boratinsky, Director of DG Internal Market, Industry, Entrepreneurship, and SMEs. That's, we know for short, DG GROW, in Networks and Governance. Jakub, tell us about it. Tell us what your perspectives from the European Commission on the potential for this kind of collaboration between the EU, between EU companies and Ukraine.
Thank you very much, Chris. Good morning to everyone. Well, today we have 238th day of the war. I think none of us could have imagined, in February, that's what we have basically seen. What we have seen is the heroic resistance of Ukraine on the front lines, but also an amazing resolve of Ukrainian society and businesses, to keep the country not just floating, but actually, developing and going forward. And I think the fact, and I will speak about it in a moment, that we have here the representative of clusters community could not be a more powerful reminder and symbol of that. I mean, these days, we see that Russia is trying to break this resolve by, targeting in an indiscriminate manner the critical energy infrastructure. Well, I think again, I really strongly believe, that also the resolve on the EU side, let's say, is unshaken, in terms of our support. Now, this is the third time when we focus on Ukraine since the Russian invasion. We had dedicated webinar sessions of cluster talks on Ukraine in March, when it was very much about, immediate needs of our Ukrainian friends. In June, we discussed the business cooperation opportunities. And today, I think we are really, in spite of all this, let's say, emergency and urgent needs, we will be focusing also very much on the future, on the potential for rebuilding of Ukraine. What we have seen, and our great, gratitude also to European clusters, to set up various actions, within the network, but also bilaterally in supporting Ukrainian friends and Ukrainian cluster alliance. So the cluster alliance in Ukraine has been set up in March, again, thanks to amazing enthusiasm and a commitment of a number of people from Ukraine. Now it's growing very fast. We see there are 37 clusters as the members, linking up over 1,900 companies and research organizations. Well, we will strongly support the efforts of the alliance to have a strong collaboration with EU clusters, and of course, proof of this is in the putting in real actually connections and business relations being established between Ukrainian and European companies facilitated by clusters. So we have seen it already happening in automation, fashion, food. I was myself present at the end of September in the big event of the cluster community, the annual conference in Prague. I'm very happy that we had actually our clusters representatives from Ukraine, represented by actually 6 very impressive ladies who came from the country, who we know that as a result of matchmaking, they were able to basically have in total over 80 meetings, which anyway shows also big interest and potential on both sides. Now, taking into account the bigger picture, I mean, looking back, so far, the European Union has been able to mobilize, over 19 billion euro in financial direct budget support and humanitarian assistance, and obviously also, again, a new chapter in, let's say, EU history, also direct military assistance provided through European Peace Facility of the amount of over 2.6 billion. Again, of course, we are trying to react to this not just through support to Ukraine, but to successive waves of sanctions. Earlier this month, the EU adopted 8 package of sanctions against Russia. And of course, what is extremely important, what we want to make sure that the sanctions really work well. we have seen an action plan to establish solidarity lanes to help Ukraine to export its grain. I mean, and what of course was also important that acted as a, let's say, another leg of an important effort also to unblock Ukrainian ports. I think this whole set of measures seem to be working rather well. I mean, I've just seen the information that export of Ukrainian grain is almost now going up to the pre-war levels, which is again is an amazing success. We have some suspended import duties on all Ukrainian exports to the EU, and all EU anti-dumping and safeguard measures in place to enable, exports of Ukrainian steel for 1 year. Again, this is just one specific measure, but I think again it's a manifestation of really our determination, to help Ukraine, to keep its economy going. And actually, we need also Ukrainian steel. This probably, if we will be in some years from now, when we looking back, an important date would be remembered. That is the 23rd of June, when the European Council took a historic decision to basically accord candidate status to Ukraine and actually respond, favorably to aspirations of Ukrainian people, which has been manifested, many times also, in the dramatic events of Maidan in 2013 and 2014. Now, you've seen the speech of our president, Ursula von der Leyen, State of the Union, I mean, where Ukraine played a very prominent role. And again, let me stress this kind of forward-looking element when she was referring to the single market, which is basically that we will have anniversary of single market 30th anniversary this year. She referred to this as a success story that we want to share with our Ukrainian friends. And I think this also means, for example, here in DG Grow, we are working hard to ensure that basically our Ukrainian partners are becoming increasingly part of various networks and various basically measures that we have in place to make sure that de facto, they are participating in the single market to the extent possible. I just had recently a meeting with the team from the Ministry of Economy on the issues of Ukrainian participation in the EU product compliance network. We are now, I think, hopefully in the final stages of accession of Ukraine to the single market program, which, by the way, is very important for us to conclude as soon as possible, so that we can offer also fully fledged support to the cluster, to clusters, but also to have an agreement on conformity assessment and acceptance of industrial products. So again, a very practical tool of making sure that you can participate in the single market. Well, today, with all the participants, and also, we are very much looking forward to a forward-looking discussion on what rebuilding opportunities in Ukraine would look like. We know that government of Ukraine presented its first kind of comprehensive program in June, but I think it is important that even in spite of the, let's say, grim, increasingly maybe dark days and hard winter, we have this focus on the future, which is definitely, rebuilding of Ukraine as part of Europe. Thank you very much, Chris. Over to you.
Okay, great. Dziękuję bardzo, Jakub.
Dziękuję.
Yeah, I guess we're staying on time. It's important to point out, I think, that even the Ukrainian economy ministry is talking about resilience. They do say that the economy shrank 30% this year, although exports jumped 23% last month as grain shipments resumed, as you mentioned, Jakub, and they're expecting 5% growth next year. So this is where this kind of collaboration could work into that. Let's move on to Alex Jurczak. Jurczak is president of Ukrainian Cluster Alliance, with some proposals on the Ukrainian Cluster Alliance. What are you pitching right now as far as how we could increase that collaboration, which actually began with the association agreement years back? We're simply deepening that relationship, aren't we, Alex?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Boratinsky, for introduction of Ukrainian Cluster Alliance. I will share my presentation. Do you see it? It's okay.
We see it now. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Okay, so it's the second presentation of Ukrainian Cluster Alliance. We had already on EU Cluster Talks in June, so I'm happy to present you update we have in our Cluster Alliance. As it was already said today, is that we started in March, and the main question we try to resolve till now is how to be resilient in wartime. And we have clear answers that professionals across the world should be united, and including clusters. So we try to unite the clusters in Ukraine. We have 37 clusters, and we work heavily with them on this question, how to be resilient. In fact, to be more concrete, more specified, we consider main challenges. We have 5, and on the first place, since the beginning until now, it's how to get more order, more jobs. And we have clear response. It's about strategy of export and internationalization. In June, we developed our program, our recommendation to government. The document is called Program of Export Internationalization for Industrial High-Tech Sectors. And in fact, there is very strong focus on 2 axes: integration into European value chain and integration into innovation ecosystem of European Union. So it looks like proposal to government, but anyway, we started to develop ourselves this direction. So with help of Ukrainian European Cluster Alliance, because we started this activity in March, in April, we had regular cluster meeting, and we continued with that on summer. So today we have more than 30 many meetings online or offline. We signed 12 memorandum of understanding with leading pan-European association and clusters. We heavily promoted I4MS program. It's about digitalization of industrial SMEs in Horizon program. We have first winner, and we built a consortium on the very big, there was special IEC call for startup support in Ukraine. We built consortium with 6 European partners. On the picture you see this is from Istanbul Business Forum, led by International Trade Council, supported by International Chamber of Commerce. We were a co-organizer of this business forum. And by the way, we have the same forum today in Tallinn, Estonia, and my colleagues Olga Trofimova, she's there. And I'm sitting today in Budapest on I4MS conference, final annual conference. So this is just example that we do a lot of activity around internationalization, and it was mentioned today about Prague conference. So for us, it's really for building trust and relationship, as we know that we are enough new on for European cluster. So we try to be to build this relationship, and we appreciate a lot of support of European Commission, especially DigiGrow, Marek, and so also European Cluster Alliance, Antonio. So thanks a lot for this support. We feel it every day, I would say. And we have many discussions in Ukrainian Cluster Alliance about the messages, because wartime is really difficult time, not just for Ukrainian but also for European cluster. We know about difficult situation, I mean economic situation in many countries. So the messages like buy Ukrainian or invest to Ukraine up to us don't work in many cases. So we just because the first question people ask us when the war will be finished, and we don't know when the war will be finished. So we developed some other messages, some 3 narratives: save, survive, win. And it's about how to support us just now. The first one, save, is about how to support our industrial innovative ecosystem, the key actors. And it's about finding new program more oriented to Eastern Europe and Baltic countries, which support us the most today. The second one is about how to support SME and business support organization clusters Typically we look for a solution how to close value gap, not just in the Ukrainian value chain, but in European, because we have surplus of work power in industrial engineer outsource. We could propose this option for European colleagues. And the third one about how to build perspective, and this oriented mainly to our recovery program. I will tell a few words later. So, and we have very good example from the last events, especially in Brno with colleagues with Czech Republic, because we started with Teresa Shamanova and Tomáš Kubala to build what we call bilateral agenda. It's some long-term plan in given sector. I'm talking about advanced manufacturing, but we can scale such approach to other sector. So we started in June, and we developed, we prepared this business delegation, business mission to Brno. It was 2 weeks ago. About 20 people from Ukraine visited a big trade fair, and we had a special Ukrainian Czech conference in advanced manufacturing. So in result, we signed a memorandum with 4 partners from Czech Republic. We prepared an action plan on the next year, with including 3 big events, and many B2B exchange have started. So up to me, it's a good example of combining these 3 options: how to save Ukrainian innovative ecosystem, how to help to survive Ukrainian SME, and how to build perspective to recovery program. And finally, about this program, so we don't have maybe too much time to discuss about it, but very briefly, it's about big line of recovery of Ukraine. It was firstly presented in Lugano. There will be next big conference in Berlin next week. So it's a multi-billion program for different sectors, including manufacturing, including infrastructure, Green Deal, education, and so on. So, and how to be connected, how to be integrated into this big line of Ukrainian government. From our side, we started to propose something more adapted for SMEs, for clusters. And what we propose as well for collaboration with European clusters. The document is called Top 10 Proposal of UCA Advanced Manufacturing. And we plan to scale up such approach for other sectors. So typically, it's going about our proposal in different sectors, like I mentioned it, outsourcing in industrial engineering, or today, for example, we have really very strong needs in emergency support center for critical infrastructure, critical energy sector, and many others. So I will put into chat the link to this document. You can read about all these proposals and related projects. This is just example in industrial outsourcing. So it's already not just idea, but it's like product. It's web resources. Work it for. You can easily just choose the company, look what you need, like free resources, free engineer, and the website give you clear answer. So I resume with some lessons of this journey we had with European partner for last 7 months. The first is obvious, that strong support from EU is not just of course it's key driver, but it's not just key driver. It's about shift of paradigm of many Ukrainian SME and cluster. We clearly saw it in last visit to Prague, to Brno, that this shift from east to west. It's still the challenge, and it's discovery for many Ukrainian SME and clusters. The second one about integration, we found that it's easy to form partnership, let's say to sign memorandum, but much more difficult to create value for both parties. And we work, the main challenge for us is about capacity of our cluster manager. So we work on that, and we consider it's like challenge. Financial aid, you know this famous slogan from Google, fast is better than slow. And it's really very relevant for us today, as many international donors are not yet adapted to Ukrainian situation, to our demand, to our expectation. There are a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of, we need much more and much more faster support. What is a bit surprising maybe for you, but we found that many European colleagues, many European Commission, DG GROW, we speak the same language, and it's language much more understandable for us than with Ukrainian government. And also it's a big challenge for us how to improve government relationships. We work on that, but maybe we can work on that together with you. Our priority, of course, we will continue with bilateral, multilateral agenda with Czech Republic, but we started this dialogue also with Poland, Lithuania, and France. And of course, we will, let's say, scale up it on other sectors like automotive, food, aerospace. What is very important for us, dual use technology and smart regions. And thanks again for European Commission, because as far as I know, we started to prepare this first Ukrainian cluster conference with Slovakian partner. It should be done at the beginning of next year. Industrial policy, it's very important for us, because situation we have with even dual use technology or weapon, but it's not just about that. It's about many industrial products we cannot produce in Ukraine. It is consequences that lacking Ukraine a strong industrial policy and strategy in previous year. So what we see now. So we should start this exchange with EU country, how to help Ukrainian government to build solid industrial policy and strategy. And talking about our priority needs, of course, it's about help to critical industry infrastructure. Today, many officials talks about delivery of equipment, electrical equipment, and many other, but it's also to building some more sustainable, like we propose emergency support center for at regional level. Second one is about engineering industry outsourcing program. It's already like ready program to propose, but it lacks funding. And what I mentioned it about programs that support cluster capacity growth. So thanks a lot for this opportunity to present Ukrainian Cluster Alliance. Thank you for your continued support of our cluster in Ukraine.
Great. Thank you very much, Alex. I hope you can stay on. The President of the European Parliament just walked into the plenary hall, so the show begins. That's why you heard the bell. Roberta Metsola is going to kick it off over there. And we are now kicking off our panel debate on this clusters talk, debate on B2B and C2C collaboration for Ukraine's recovery. But we do want to stick connected with Alex and Jakub for any of your questions. Please do send in your questions. And let's get this going with Monika Matuziak, a team leader on smart specialization, global outreach within the Territorial Development Unit. She's at the Joint Research Center. That's sort of like I like to call it the think tank on the European Commission side. A lot of important and interesting studies that come out of the JRC very often. Monika, please.
Thanks a lot. And actually, we also think about ourselves as a think tank. Yeah, this is really our own mission. So very good interpretation of JRC role.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So I'm really pleased to be here because in my particular responsibility, we are in a directorate responsible for growing innovation. For years and years, this directorate has been running a smart specialization platform, originally for EU member states, but with time, more and more non-EU countries' economies started joining this movement. And Ukraine was one of the first ones, together with Moldova and Serbia, who were in or joined our pilot project to test even if smart specialization notion can be applied. And since my personal history actually comes from clusters, I actually started as a cluster manager, then cluster advisor, and then moved to regional innovation strategies, smart specialization. This connection between clusters and smart specialization is really close to my heart, but also sound in economic terms, because what you're trying to do in smart specialization strategy is to use the economic notion of cluster to add in knowledge, innovation, value added, just to grow and to find niches for competitiveness, for increased innovativeness of businesses. So how is it applied in Ukraine? Obviously, situation changed drastically during the war, but before the war started, we were at the stage that all the Ukrainian regions were prepared. We had quite a long capacity building program for the oblast administrations to run the process, to mobilize stakeholders. There was a lot of awareness building events and so on. Also, we prepared a dedicated methodology for identification of the priority areas in economic terms, in terms of innovation potential, of scientific potential. This exercise has been done by all the Ukrainian regions, and some of them were about to start the entrepreneurial discovery process, which is, I think, the moment when clusters can really join the dialogue. Because the whole notion of smart specialization is that it's not supposed to be a top-down exercise. You are actually supposed to sit together at the table, talk and identify business needs in the areas and the domains where potential impact of the transformation is highest. So we are now hearing, we actually have not lost the contact with the Ukrainian government and specific regions. There was a slowdown in certain activities, but now we are hearing them increasingly. They are ready to move on. Obviously, we will have to revise and understand better what happened during the war. So this, what we call it mapping, yeah, the evidence on potential priority domains will have to be revised, looking at the damage that occurred. But there is this opening to relaunch the smart specialization process, and I want to mention two very important things. First of all, just in July this year, Ukraine announced its draft recovery plan in Lugano, supported by Lugano Declaration, and smart specialization is included as a part of this plan. So Ukraine wants to continue to use smart specialization approach for the recovery and for building resilience. But also, we are just after a very interesting event focusing on Eastern Partnership on three most advanced countries in terms of smart specialization concept. It is Ukraine, Moldova, and Georgia. And we have heard from Ukrainian Ministry of Economic Development and Trade that actually the results of this original identification of potential smart specialization priority domains has already was already used during the war in a few areas. And let me just quote here. First of all, it was used to support the relocation of the companies alongside Ukraine and finding regions that would be more suitable because of the economic profile for this relocation. Also, it was used as a part of an export booster program to support the SME integration in the EU and global value chain and compensate for lower internal demand for the products and services. It was also used to determine, or as an evidence, to determine the specialization of certain industrial parks, and included, as I said, in the recovery plan. So what we see from our side, from the Commission, from the GRC, we see that Ukraine is serious about continuing this notion. It's also included in the secondary national legislation, and it's obligatory part of regional development strategies. So we are really well set up for clusters to jump in. The evidence is collected, the spirit is there, and now we really need the voice of companies to talk, not with us, not with GRC really, but with their own regional governments and their own territories, with other partners, with research academia, and just together define not only the priorities, but the types of action and activities that are really needed at the moment. And from our side, obviously, we are always ready. We are fully committed to keep supporting Ukraine. in the process of design, but later also implementation and monitoring and evaluation of scalation strategies. And yeah, maybe I will just finish here. And if there's any questions, I would be happy to add, because I could
Sure.
keep talking about this process very long.
There are lots of things, yeah, lots of things to say there, and the GRC has plenty of information on that to look to for this resilience that is going on in Ukraine. Thank you so much, Monica. I really appreciate it. Stay on, please, for any further questions. Let's move on to Ukraine, to Taras Holub, advisor to the Vice Prime Minister for European and Euro-Atlantic Integration, Government of Ukraine. Taras, welcome. I guess you don't need an electrical generator at the moment, but how are things over there? And how is this resilience? It's really interesting to see that, yes, of course, I mean, in the middle of a war, your economy took a nosedive this year, but you're seeing resilience now, and you're seeing 5% growth next year, hopefully.
Morning. First of all, let me be thankful to European Commission and all the efforts Europe and European countries and other countries is doing to support Ukraine. Certainly the situation is hard. We are under bombing from day to day. This week was started from huge attacks in Kiev, in the center of Kiev, not far from me, about 1 kilometer from my home. It was bombing, just houses. So we are working in this situation. A lot of bombings of civil infrastructure, bombings of electricity generations points, and so on. But we are surviving, we are working, and certainly we are focused on military needs, on wind. And
I guess the dual use is probably very important at this point, right?
Yeah, but economical development, economical support of economics, that is big point, big call for us, how to work in these circumstances. We have certainly we have a lot of questions about recovery of Ukraine. What is the needs? What is the presages? How to participate in these processes? And we have done the declaration in Lugano about the general needs, about blocks of needs, about general plan for next period. First needs, secondary needs, needs after the win. A lot of projects could be halt after the win. Certainly, the financial risks to operate in war, that is hard, that is blocked to cooperate just now. But we have a lot of today needs, like support of energy infrastructure, and but certainly that is just aid, that is not financial projects. But recovery for us, that is first of all an economical opportunity to cooperate, to hold projects, to hold income next period. So today we feel some opportunities to start projects of recovery just now. The first opportunity, that is projects for preparation future recovery. For example, Ministry of Regional Development of Ukraine is holding project of established digital system of geological register for the regional development, for development of territories, cities, and towns. and we are in cooperation with a Slovak company who has experience of similar digital register in Czech Republic, and we would to implement this digital system in Ukraine to support the process. So there is some preparings on future development, some planning, some information development, and so on. The second block of project could be implemented just now. That is projects for Ukraine, but on the territory of out of Ukraine in Eastern Europe, for example. So an example, we are preparing to joint declaration with Slovak Republic government about joint efforts to declare our projects of common infrastructure for European calls of Connected Europe Facility, transport and mobility. That is a lot of projects of railroad terminals, building of rail ventures, and other needs Ukraine have just today for support Ukrainian export, for have economical development just during the war. So I would to emphasize that some projects of recovery of Ukraine could be started today. Certainly, we have a lot of questions in cooperation with European Union and financial organizations. How could be built the system of funding of these projects? And certainly, Ukrainian economy is not able to support this project fully, but a part of support could be made with Ukraine. We are in discussion with European Commission how could work platform of Ukraine recovery. But today we are holding the pilot projects, and that is the first attempts to build financial infrastructure for holding these projects. So I hope that the cluster initiative could be implemented in both ways, both in planning of future recovery and to participate in pilot projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Taras, and I hope you can stay on there with us for any questions. Let us now move on to Teresa Samanova, a member of the board and CEO of Czechino. Czechino, that's an interesting organization. You're about a decade old. You're a matchmaker for companies, academia, and others. You're involved in the Smart Business Festival, the Export Festival, CZ. We heard a little bit about from Taras about working with Slovakia. What about with the Czech Republic, Teresa?
Yes, hello. Firstly, thank you for inviting me. It's my great honor to have the possibility to present here our experiences in Czech Republic, and I will start exactly at the point where Mr. Holub has ended, because we are representing some of the pilot projects that are being happened between Czech Republic and Ukraine, and also Ukraine and the rest of Europe. Thank you for your kind introduction, Chris. Czechino is not a cluster organization at all, but we are working very much with clusters in the Czech Republic and in the countries around, and we are also registered at a cluster collaboration platform as collaborating entity. We are co-founders and partners of several digital innovation hubs in Czech Republic. One is a newly selected European Digital Innovation Hub, and we are also a founder and leader of so-called Central European Platform for Digital Innovation, CINO. And where this story has started, already since last few years and last months, we were in contact with Ukrainian partners because we were part of the same European projects as, for example, BOE, some affirmed projects, and so on. But what came in February this year, it was a real shock, and we were really paralyzed with the things that happened in Ukraine. And we decided not to go with our help, support, and assistance by the way of humanitarian or health aid or some civil society organizations, but we are trying to help Ukraine and staying in touch with the European community of innovators, of the digital innovation hubs in various countries. And since February, it is really amazing what has been done in Ukraine regarding establishing the Ukrainian Cluster Alliance, and we are big fans of this initiative. Since February, we have already submitted several projects together, including the EIC startup application, and we have organized the Smart Export Forum focused on specifically on Czech-Ukraine collaboration in digital innovations, and we have set up a structured agenda that has in fact three main roof points and three main topics, which are cybersecurity, then Industry 4.0 and smart manufacturing, then smart cities, regions, and communities. And another important topic that is somehow creating a base for this collaboration, of course, education and support for SMEs in Ukraine. And the things are moving fast forward. Since the engineering fair trade in Brno, it was on 6th of October, where we have organized the Czech, Ukrainian, and Smart Export Forum. We have managed to get very quickly support from our government to these Czech, Ukrainian events, activities, and initiatives. We have submitted three projects into a scheme of so-called support for economic diplomacy. We're in very tight contact with the Czech embassy in Kiev. We have gained support from our Ministry of Foreign Affairs to organize 3 missions of Ukrainian experts to Czech Republic during the next year. The good news is also that the Czech government has last week approved its 3-year-long support program focused on the recovery of Ukraine. And we are negotiating with our Ministry of Industry and Trade how to organize the projects, collaboration, and the streams that should be created to help Ukraine in the sectors where the whole help is most needed. And also Eastern Partnership Business Forum yesterday and the day before yesterday, a Czech presidency to the European Union event held in Prague. We were there actively present. We have met their Ukrainian partners. We have presented there some nice experiences from European projects, this time focused on agriculture, smart agriculture, where also collaboration between the Czech Republic and Ukraine deserves to be strengthened. So that's what we are doing. Maybe I won't take too much time at the beginning. I'm ready for further discussions, but just to emphasize, it's really worth to find your partners in Ukraine. Ukrainian Cluster Alliance, namely Alexander Yurchak, are the entry points into this ecosystem that really needs your support and is very keen on collaboration on bilateral or European projects. And on the Czech side, we have already found cluster partners for several Ukrainian clusters, namely Industry 4.0 cluster, Czech Smart City cluster, and also network security cluster, which is part of our cybersecurity innovation hub. So it's good to interconnect the lines at both the sides. And just to conclude, well, this is a good example of so-called inter-regional corridors of innovative collaboration, which is one of the ideas that is being present as a red line in European projects, like, for example, BOE, where we are involved. And we would like to support and further develop this idea of interregional corridors of collaboration by doing the things between Czech Republic and Ukraine that are currently being happened.
That's great.
So
Teresa,
that was my
yeah.
initial input. And once again, thank you very much for giving us opportunity to present our good practices here.
Thank you as well, Teresa. And I see a lot of great networking going on in the chat. And please, anyone feel free to send in a question or two. We still have a little bit of time for that. One thing that comes to mind, Teresa, you mentioned about cybersecurity, about collaboration on cybersecurity. Is there anything concrete you can say about that in terms of collaboration? It's one of those immediate concerns right now, as Ukraine has undergone a number of cyber attacks in this war.
Yes, we are very much aware of that, and please let you believe that the cyber attacks are not only happening in Ukraine. In Czech Republic, we have at about 10 times increase since last February of the cyber attacks. And here we are really happy that we have achieved to get support from Digital Europe program to our cybersecurity innovation hub, which is very strong consortium with very strong international connections. It is led by 3 big Czech universities, Czech Technical University in Prague, Masaryk University in Brno, Technical University in Brno. And there are really top cybersecurity researchers and experts that are leading projects, and that for more are able to provide its research and technological infrastructure for training foreign experts, including the Ukrainian ones.
What about,
sorry, just half a sentence. There's a cyber range designed especially for training and simulation for cyber attacks in place in Brno, and it is physical and also virtual infrastructure that could be provided to Ukrainian experts to help them.
Yeah, and thanks, Teresa. If the other guests and speakers could turn on your cameras, that would be great to show. That's even a family photo, isn't it? Having us all on there on the screen, that would be great. Yeah, there you go. Great. Hope to see Monica, Jakub, Teresa. All right. Well, we see a lot of chat. Well, here's one from Richard Platt to everyone. We operate a network of many thousands of SMEs who are interested in trade with Ukraine. Please advise possible contacts to facilitate this. Would anyone like to talk about how we can, organizations like organizations that want to be in this cluster, how can this cluster alliance, how can they connect like that? Who would like to talk about that? And I have a question too. What about barriers? And maybe Jakub might want to listen up on that. Would anyone like to talk about the barriers to overcome in this kind of collaboration? Maybe Alex, you'd like to kick off with that.
You mean barrier in trade?
Well, barriers in trying to encourage this kind of collaboration.
Yeah.
What kind of barriers that exist?
Yeah, I think up to me the first category of barrier is about war risk, because you know, typically about warranty of deals, warranty of payment. Many foreign partners, they are not sure if situation is stable, if our SME are in safe situation, so on. So there are many questions appealing to what it should come from our government, what warranty can be done to ensure this business continuity and export-import operation. And even for financial risk, typically everybody asks our SME to pay forward. So it means that, well, typically we don't have today prepayment from suppliers, so we typically should deliver goods and only then to get some payment. So it's appeal also to good financial stability, what is not case of many SMEs.
Yeah, how to overcome that? That's not easy. That's true. That's something to be aware of. Taras, any barriers you can mention from your side?
Let me add to this information. Yes, it's really a problem because Ukrainian companies have a lot of financial risks, and how to cover these risks, that is the question. We are discussing again back to practice with Slovak government. We are discussing the project to establish consignation stores on the board of Ukraine and Czech Republic on Slovak territory to the Ukrainian companies to use these stores to establish to cover financial risks in supplying these goods in export. That is really good initiative, and we hope financial companies would be interested to launch this project with support.
All right.
It's really important.
Jakub, very quickly, I see that I'm running out of time here, so if you could somehow respond to that.
No,
how can we overcome some of these barriers? I guess are unavoidable, right?
Well, I think there is, maybe I will refer to also, let's say, psychological dimension. So I think it's our collective responsibility to pass the message that in spite of the war, let's say, Ukraine is open for business, and there are really practical ways to engage. And I think all these events that we are, we will be organizing, are definitely one tool to make it happen. Actually, that, let's say, European cluster representatives, European entrepreneurs can see basically face to face the Ukrainian counterparts, and I think this is, if you find, let's say, creative ways of magnifying that effect, I think that would be extremely useful. Just have in mind, I mean, we have also some big trade fairs, I mean, organized in different member states, including the biggest of all, Hanover, in spring of next year. Maybe this is where we should also focus some attention.
Indeed. Jakub, and to all the speakers, thank you so much for being with us for this cluster talk on Ukraine. I'm sure it's not the last one. We're going to be talking about this resilience despite this conflict going on, and then what comes after. So thanks to everyone. And I would like to also now move very quickly to Nina Hoppmann, again, a team member of the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, to talk about funding opportunities. Nina, please.
Thank you, Chris. We looked into what are the funding opportunities accessible to Ukrainian entities at the moment, and we wanted to share some info on that with you in case you find that of interest. There's Horizon for Ukraine, which is a program to support displaced researchers and other specialists from Ukraine to integrate them into ongoing EU-funded research and innovation projects. And if you check on the funding intended portal, there are around 430 opportunities on various topics from different projects and also from initiated in different member states. So you can have a look at that. The link is in the chat.
Yeah, we see that in the chat. Great.
Yes. Also, there are several funding opportunities available under the Program for Environment and Climate Action, LIFE. So there are calls on energy efficiency, eco-designs, accelerating development and affordability of heat pumps, supporting clean energy transition for the business sector. And here there was an agreement signed with Ukraine in June 2022, so this summer. Ratification is still pending, but the deadline for calls is the 16th of November. You can also check that out on the funding and tenders portal. Interesting might also be the new region program. This action supports transnational projects that contribute to a more innovative, sustainable, social, and better managed Danube region. And Ukrainian organizations can participate in the first call for proposals as project partners. The deadline for the current open possibility is the 21st of November, and you find the information on the Interact the New Transnational Program website. And there are many other EU calls open to Ukrainian entities. Just to give you some examples, you can see here in the screen, and we will publish this presentation later after this talk on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform so that you can have a closer look and go to the links. For example, there are opportunities working on marine pollution at Black Sea, working in health, working with social enterprises or in tourism or in the creative industries. So different possibilities to look into. And of course, there's also access to finance or advice training that is available purely for Ukrainian entities, and also with some support offices. For example, you can contact the Eastern Partnership Trade Help Desk. Maybe it might also be interesting to look into the EU talent pool, where you find validated and registered employers in the EU, plus different programs where Ukrainian companies can also get loans and grants for and training for different topics and from different providers. So also worth to have a look at this. Thanks.
Great, Nina, thank you so much. This winds up our latest clusters talk. The next clusters talk will be the 2nd of November, Energy Transformational Technologies. Be sure to register for that, and be sure to register for the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. Hashtag EU Clusters Talks for anything you heard over this hour that you would like to cast wider. I think that wraps it up. My name is Chris Burns. See you next time.